evening, I'm Ces Oreña-Drilon.
I'm Pauline Verzosa.
And I'm Shawn Yao.
The big stories tonight. After days of prodding from various sectors, Malacanang finally declares what it calls a state of national energy emergency. This after almost 4 weeks into the Gulf War and 3 weeks of punishing oil price increases.
Now, the declaration comes hours after senators called out the palace for refusing to acknowledge that the country is already in a crisis. Lawmakers say until the Marcos administration admits this reality, it cannot act with urgency.
And the transport sector gets cash aid from the Transportation and Social Welfare Departments. But drivers and operators say the payout could only stretch as much.
Pag kayo ay humihingi ng mga budget ninyo, maski overnight, nandyan kayo. Pero pag crisis action plan, marami kayong dahilan. Sinabi nyo, excise tax, kailangan urgent. Nung napasa namin, sinabi, we will see. Ano ba? Ano ba? Kailangan ba? Hindi.
Nagdedebate pa tayo kung nasa crisis tayo o hindi tayo sa crisis. Para sa amin, dito sa Senado, nasa crisis na tayo.
Panahon nang magdeklara ng state of national emergency. Kailangan ng pamahalaan ng mas malawak na kapangyarihan upang agad-agad na matugunan ang krisis na ito.
Just minutes ago, President Bongbong Marcos signed an executive order declaring a state of national energy emergency. Let's get the details from mobile journalist Julie Baisa. Julie, what does it mean exactly to be in a state of national energy emergency?
Yes, President Bongbong Marcos has declared a state of national emergency through Executive Order 110. This is in light of the ongoing conflict in the Middle East. The declaration of a state of national energy emergency shall remain in effect for 1 year. So binanggit doon sa EO na highly dependent yung bansa sa external sources ng fuel supply. Kaya malaki raw yung epekto ng conflict sa domestic energy requirements natin. Ngayong nasa state of national energy emergency tayo, inuutusan yung DOE na magpatupad ng appropriate energy conservation measures to act against hoarding, profiteering, and supply manipulation. Under Section 5F, the DOE is also authorized to undertake procurement of required fuel and petroleum products to ensure a timely and sufficient supply. Pwede rin silang magbigay ng advance payment of an amount exceeding 15% of the contract amount in accordance with the applicable laws, rules, and regulations. Lastly, pinatutuloy ng Pangulo kung ano pa rin naman yung kasalukuyan ng ginagawa ng mga concerned government agencies like the fuel subsidies from the DOTR and DSWD, the expansion of the Libreng Sakay program, temporary reduction and suspension of toll charges, and the other fees. Doon naman sa BMW, yung tuloy pa rin na pagtulong sa mga kababayan nating OFWs na naiipit sa gulo, and sa DA yung pagtitiyak na merong sapat na supply yung bansa ng pagkain at mga pangangailangan ng mga magsasaka.
Julie, nakapaloob ba dito sa EO kung saan manggagaling ang pondo na ibibigay para sa livelihood, sa mga transport sector, pati na yung mga nasa food?
Yung funding ng implementation nitong EO, manggagaling pa rin siya sa existing appropriations ng concerned government agencies. Nauna lang sinabi, for example, ng DSWD under ng AIC, na yung 60 billion nila, hahatiin nila. 30 billion na ililinya na for the cash assistance for our drivers. And then ang DOTR, sinabi na rin na may 2.5 billion sila na inilaan for the fuel subsidies as well as the other government agencies. Ngayon, kung kukulangin, pwede namang mag-identify ang Department of Budget and Management, of course, subject to existing budgeting, accounting, and auditing laws, rules and regulations, kung saan pa tayo pwedeng humugot ng additional funding para dito sa mga proyekto or programang ipinalatag ng Pangulo.
Pero parang absent o silent itong EO ukol sa taxes, yung suspension ng fuel taxes.
Hindi nabanggit dito yung either reduction or suspension fuel tax on petroleum or fuel products. Previously, actually, ito nga yung pinamamadali ng Pangulo kasi nung sinabi niya, yung unang-unang beses pa na nagsabi siya ng statement tungkol nga dito, nagpatawag siya ng press con sa kung ano yung ginagawa ng pamahalaan, siya yung nag-bring up na kakausapin niya yung both houses, Congress at saka Senate, na baka pwedeng mabigyan siya ng authority na i-reduce yung taxes. Pero kumambyo ang Pangulo I think just last week or 2 weeks ago, in an ambush interview din, nung natanong natin tungkol dito, ang sabi niya, depende pa raw sa sitwasyon, depende pa raw sa presyo or sa oil trends. Yung magiging desisyon niya, kahapon lang si Yusek Claire Castro, ang sabi naman, sigurado siya na pipirmahan ng Pangulo. Itong kahapon ay panukala pa lang, pero yung implementation daw, yun nga daw yung subject pa rin sa batas, sa laws, kasi yung idinadahilan niya noon is yung $80 per barrel dapat na presyo, so na pumalo dapat for 30 days. So medyo atras-abante kumbaga, na kahit kami nalilito na rin ano ba talaga, kasi pinasertipikahang urgent and then biglang ito yung magiging statement ng Pangulo na magiging na it depends pa, and then biglang ito ang Palace Press Officer sinasabi na definitely ipatutupad, and ito nga sa final sa EO walang pagbanggit nitong excise tax.
Julie, so tama ba? Siyempre, lahat tayo inaabangan natin na lumabas itong EO, and now that it's here, am I hearing you right na kumbaga yung maaasahan lang natin right now is yung mga subsidies under uplift na binanggit mo, which is under the provisions of this executive order?
Yes, magtutuloy-tuloy. For example, yung iba naman sa mga proyekto, pina-expand. For example, the expansion nga of the libreng sakay program, pinatutuloy lang itong subsidies under nga ng DOTR and ng DSWD. Meron pang ibang iniutos. Itong uplift or yung Unified Package for Livelihood, Industry, Food, and Transport, bubuo rin niya ng committee. So yung committee, bubuuin niya ng chairman, ang Pangulo ng Pilipinas. Executive members naman, ang CES, Secretaries of DOE, DOTR, DSWD, DA, DOF, BBM, and DepDev. So yung committee, sila yung magmomonitor at mag-ensure na may sapat tayong supply, pati yung distribution and availability of fuel, food, and other essential goods. Inaatasan din sila na to ensure continuity of public transportation and safeguard economic stability. So, ang mga nadagdag lang, aside from nabanggit ko nga kanina, kasi existing naman ito, naka-roll out na yung mga subsidies natin, ang mga nagdagdag lang is expansion of other programs, and then yung pag-review and pag-i-implement ng appropriate measures to reduce transport costs. So pinagsusumite pa sila ng mga additional measures na pwedeng gawin. And yung pag-take ng actions against hoarding, profiteering, and supply manipulation.
Okay, so a quick follow-up lang, no? Doon sa mga MSMEs, kasi it's also written there that assistance will go out to them. So
Yes,
far, wala pang nabanggit. May idea ka, Julie, kung anong niluluto nila, no? Para naman may something to look forward to yung business sector din.
Actually, yan nga yung nakaraan, laging itinatanong yan, ano pa yung iba? Kasi sa ngayon, nakafocus tayo with our drivers, and then just today, yung operators naman, yung binigyan ng tulong ng government kaninang umaga. So yung MSMEs ay pinabubuo sila ng iba pang mga programs na pwedeng makatulong. Ang DTI yung inuutusan, yung Department of Trade and Industry, na first, to monitor and when warranted, implement remedies daw to address yung mga excessive or unreasonable price increases on basic necessities. Ngayon naman yung suporta for our micro, small, and medium enterprises, and promote adoption of and use of electric vehicles and other stuff. Wala pang inilalatag ano yung magiging programa for them. Kasi previously, ang DTI, sinasabi nila merong loans. Pero kasi that was before the declaration of National Energy Emergency, and yung loans naman talaga ibinibigay to help that specific sector, yung mga MSMEs natin. So, wala pa tayong idea ano yung bago. And actually, medyo marami pa tayong kailangang itanong na dito sa nilalaman, kasi yung ibang terms, very vague lang and medyo redundant, kumbaga.
Julie, yung committee na nabanggit mo kanina, under Uplift, iba pa ba yan doon sa crisis committee na iniutos ni PBBM na mabuo? Or yan na rin yun, yung composed of cabinet secretaries?
Lilinawin natin, kaya Yusek Claire, hopefully tomorrow kung merong press briefing, kung ito na ba, kasi yesterday tinatanong namin ano ba yung final na tawag doon sa committee. Ang sabi niya, hindi pa niya pwedeng i-disclose. So, pero looking at this Uplift committee, mukhang ito na yun kasi nandito na yung lahat ng government agencies and secretaries na involved. Nandito na yung DOE, nandito na yung mga ahensya para sa pagpapatupad ng mga subsidies. And nandito na rin ang presidente to authorize. So, mukhang ito na yung crisis committee, pero lilinawin pa natin tomorrow.
Okay, Julie, sa isang interview, nabanggit din ni PBBM na nakikita niyang yung posibilidad na mag-ground din ng ilang mga airlines dahil nga sa tumataas na rin na presyo ng jet fuel. Gaano ba kaseryoso yung threat sa ating mga local carriers ng krisis na ito?
Actually, sa isang sit-down interview, sinabi nga ng Pangulo yun, yung may posibilidad daw na, ano ba yung exact term? Iba yung term na ginamit ng Pangulo.
Distinct possibility.
Yes, distinct possibility yung ginamit niya. So, actually, ang sabi niya naman niya, we're hoping na hindi magtuloy-tuloy na tumaas yung jet fuel prices. Pero dahil may posibilidad nga daw, isa daw yan sa dapat tingnan at paghandaan ng pamahalaan. Kasi ibang mga bansa na rin daw, sinabi na rin sa mga airlines na hindi na maipagpapatuloy na mag-suporta ng fuel aircraft, to fuel their aircraft. Pero wala naman siyang binanggit kung ano pang bansa yun. Pero yun nga, in the long run, magiging mas seryosong problema daw ito. Pero ito kasing statement na to, hindi pa to nabanggit ng Pangulo with the local media. Doon lang talaga sa sit-down interview to. So wala pa tayong any other information or ibang details tungkol dito.
Julie, I'm curious lang, slightly different topic. Kanina kasi medyo nagalit si Senador Loren Legarda na hindi sumipot si Energy Secretary Garin doon sa Senado. Ang sabi naman ng ibang DOE members who were there, pumunta daw siya sa Malacanang. Nagkaroon ba ng meeting? Kasi part siya nitong committee under this EO. So nandun ba kanina itong mga secretary sa Malacanang for what I'm imagining is a crisis meeting or pre-crisis meeting?
Actually, wala kaming naging briefing. Meron supposedly ng 1 p.m. pero wala ding reason kung bakit hindi siya natuloy. And nung tinatanong namin yung isang staff kung nasaan si Claire, ang sagot sa amin ay may meeting. Pero walang dinisclose sa amin kung may meeting ba kasama yung yung mga cabinet secretaries or si Secretary Garin. Wala tayong idea, wala pang sinasabi yung pala sa atin kung nangyari yung meeting kanina. Pero si Secretary Garin, nakita ko na meron din siyang mga interviews nung morning.
Correct.
So, maybe before magkaroon man ng supposedly meeting.
Julie, para lang sa timeline, anong oras eksakto linabas tong EO? Ngayong araw.
Dito po sa amin sa Palasyo, 11 p.m. Pero as early as siguro let's say mga 6 p.m., nag-heads up na sila na iniintay na lang nila yung signed copy and na-transmit and ilalabas na yung EO. So, in a matter of an hour, naibigay na sa atin yung EO and naisend na rin yung photo ng Pangulo na pumipirma.
Okay, kasi as early as, I think, 4 o'clock, hindi alam ni DA Secretary Kiko Chu Laurel itong EO na to, na mag-formulate ng Uplift Committee. So, parang,
I think
hindi nila alam.
I think 4 p.m. po na ipasa or kinonfirm ng Senado na nai-transmit sa Malacanang. Pero 4:40, around 4:40, tinanong ko pa si Yusek Claire kung natanggap na ba yung bill, pero ang sabi niya hindi pa raw sa mga oras na yun.
Ito yung bill naman na galing sa Senado.
Yung bill na.
Oo.
Yes, yung, oo, apo.
Okay. Thank you so much for all your information, our mobile journalist, Julie Baisa. Now, before the palace declaration, senators called out the executive over its alleged lack of urgency in responding to the Middle East crisis. And one senator did not mince words. Mobile journalist Arles de los Santos has that story.
Senator Loren Legarda did not hide her disappointment as the upper chamber discussed the Energy Department's plan amid the still raging Gulf War. First, the senator fumed over the absence of DOE Secretary Shawn Yao in Tuesday's hearing.
No less than the cabinet level should be here. Kung nandito ang SFA, bakit hindi yung iba? You're too busy? Is this not the most important thing? Why should the DOE Secretary be exempted? Pag kayo ay humihingi ng mga budget ninyo, maski overnight, nandyan kayo. Pero pag crisis action plan, marami kayong dahilan.
And then, Senator Legarda was as agitated when it came to the turn of other agencies. They said supplemental budgets that could boost response to the crisis needed congressional approval. Only the Senate and House are on break.
Hindi pwedeng tinuturo-turo nyo kami. Hindi nyo pwedeng sinasabi, makinig kayo. Huwag kayong nagpapalusot dito, ha? Gusto nyo Holy Week, magtrabaho tayo dito, eh. Huwag nyo sasabihin na nag-break kami, kaya hindi napasa yung hiniling ng DOE na congressional approval.
Legarda pointed out how they were able to pass emergency powers for President Bongbong Marcos to suspend or reduce fuel excise taxes when the Energy Department of Energy asked for it. But then again, the executive seems to be sitting on it, somehow lacking sense of urgency.
Ang gulo ninyo, sinabi nyo excise tax, kailangan urgent. Nung napasa namin, sinabi, we will see. Yan, galing sa inyo yan, ha? Kung gagamitin. Tapos, the next day, sige na nga. Ano ba? Ano ba? Kailangan ba? Hindi. It was deemed urgent, napasa. Tapos, pagkapasa namin, we will see.
And then, in the afternoon and into the thick of the Senate hearing, Energy Secretary Garin turned up. She took questions from the senators who believe these are not normal times, with oil prices spikes unabated in double digits and continuous for at least 3 weeks now.
We have a present crisis now, cannot do anything, but this is a crisis situation. But do you suggest in case we repeal or in case we amend the oil deregulation law, which particular provisions should we add? Siguro kailangan natin idagdag yung crisis situations.
At this juncture, Senator Win Gatchalian insisted that government agencies meet and unite on a goal to form a comprehensive plan in case the situation in the Middle East drags on. He says he is also worried that up to this point, the Marcos administration is yet to come up with a clear national contingency plan. And all senators agree. First, the government should admit there is a crisis before coming up with timely solutions.
Wag na tayo lost in translation or nagmamaang-maangan na may krisis. Until we define it as a crisis, we will not act in record time to save our people. So, each agency represented here must act as if we are in a crisis, because we are in a crisis.
For Senator Bam Aquino, it's time that President Marcos acknowledge the situation and declare an emergency, and as soon as possible too.
Panahon nang magdeklara ng state of national emergency. At marami po sa amin ganun din ang pakiramdam. Kailangan ng pamahalaan ng mas malawak na kapangyarihan upang agad-agad na matugunan ang krisis na ito.
Kapatid Arles de los Santos, we are One News.
3 weeks since the first big oil price hike, the Transportation Department has started giving out fuel subsidies. President Bongbong Marcos himself supervised the first day of distribution to bus operators at the Parañaque Integrated Terminal Exchange, or PTEX. The DOTR allotted 2.5 billion pesos for the subsidy. And Both operators and drivers will receive aid. For operators, the fuel subsidy is 10,000 pesos for buses, P2Ps, modern jeepneys, and modern UV Express units, and 9,000 pesos for those who operate minibuses. Operators of traditional jeepneys, fill cabs, school buses, and traditional UV Express will get 5,000 pesos. Taxi operators will receive 2,000 pesos, while TNVS operators will get 1,500 pesos. For drivers, the fuel subsidy is 5,000 pesos for taxis and UV Express units and 1,500 pesos for all kinds of jeepneys and fill cabs. These are distributed in cash, check, or via fuel subsidy cards or bank and e-wallet transfers.
Tulungan nyo naman kami para yung mga ating riding public ay hindi masyadong mahirapan unang-una at hindi sila masyadong mabigatan sa pamasahe dahil nga alam naman natin kung ano yung pangyayari, nagbabago yung presyo ng langis all over the world. Kaya ito ang response ng pamahalaan. And of course, we are always in need of assistance and support and cooperation with the operators, with the drivers, yung buong sistema. So this is what we are doing here now.
DOTR Secretary Banoy Lopez also clarified that tricycle drivers and delivery riders will also receive fuel subsidy after the Holy Week. The amount, though, is yet to be determined. He also reiterated that this fuel subsidy is different from the aid being distributed by the DSWD.
Sisiguraduhin po namin ng lahat ng transport group, so kasama na rin po ang mga operator, super, mga commuters. Kaya makakaasa sila na tutulong po ang gobyerno, makakaasa po na gagawa pa kami ng mga iba't ibang inisyatibo.
And the Department of Social Welfare and Development, or DSWD, has also kicked off its second batch of payouts. This time around, drivers of Transport Network Vehicle Service, or TNVS, received 5,000 pesos each in cash assistance. In Quezon City, drivers of ride-hailing apps were first to line up at the Quezon City Memorial Circle. But just like last week, many beneficiaries were not on the official list of beneficiaries. The LTFRB said this is the fault of TNVS companies.
Masakit isipin na matagal ka nagbitirahan ako ng driver, pero wala pa rin doon sa master list ng LTFRB yung pangalan ko. Hindi naman po kami mabibigyan ng apps ng Grab kapag hindi kami active.
Napakataas ang gas. Kahit yung 5K sana yun, kahit 2 araw talaga namin gas ngayon kasi napakataas ang gas. Parang maabot ng 2.5 ang gas namin ngayon eh.
The LTFRB explained that only active drivers were put on the list, and this does not include the so-called temporary drivers or those without valid franchises.
Ito yung mga on-board pero kakulang-kulang na wala pang prangkisa. Gusto namin lahat, regardless. Ang utos ng Presidente naman, bigyan lahat eh. Walang maiiwan. Regardless if they're active, not active, paminsan-minsan lang, isama nyo.
Tomorrow, March 25, it is the turn of jeepney drivers to receive their cash assistance from the DSWD. After that, delivery riders on Thursday and Friday, and motorcycle taxi riders on Saturday. After the Holy Week, the program will kick off in the provinces.
Meantime, the bill giving President Marcos authority to suspend collection of fuel excise taxes is now on his desk for signature. House Speaker Bogie D and Senate President Tito Soto have both signed the measure, which Congress fast-tracked in response to rising pump prices. The House adopted the Senate version to expedite passage, but Palace Press Officer Claire Castro says the President has not yet received the enrolled bill. Marcos has 30 days to act on the bill. If approved, the President can pause or slash fuel excise taxes, saving consumers 10 pesos per liter on gasoline, 6 pesos on diesel, and 5 pesos on kerosene. The Finance Department had warned that such a pause would cost the Philippines in the long run 136 billion pesos in revenue.
We're just going to take a quick break, but coming up, this could be another long-term impact of the oil crisis and the Gulf War. The Agriculture Department sees prices of rice going up in a few months. The details of that story and more when we return. Keep it here on One News.
Welcome back to the big story. 2,325 pesos. That's the amount the Department of Agriculture will hand out farmers and fishers reeling from the effects of the mega oil price hike. According to DA Secretary Francisco Chu Laurel, over 4 million farmers will benefit from the payout, which begins April 6. This will be sourced from the 10 billion peso presidential assistance for farmers and fisherfolk. This is different from the fuel subsidy, also for distribution worth 150 million pesos. Meanwhile, in a Senate hearing earlier, Chu Laurel also warned of a possible increase in the prices of rice and other commodities in the coming months.
Sa bigas, I personally think na tataas yan bandang August pa.
Okay.
This year. Ang baboy hindi tataas for the moment dahil maraming imported baboy sa cold storages, and kung tuloy-tuloy ang importasyon ng baboy like belly and yung mga kasim, pork ham, ay yung exchange rate lang at yung freight lang ang magiging factor sa pagtaas.
Like the palace, Secretary Chu Laurel believes there is no crisis. On Storycon earlier, he said the country has no issue when it comes to food supply.
So supply is not really an issue until the end of the year. It's a matter of price lang eh. Assuming mas bumaba ang production, mas bumaba ang ng palay man o livestock o kaya we have another option to import, no. Although ayaw ko talagang mag-import as much as possible, pero kung kinakailangan marami naman tayong sources.
Now, what else is in store for the agriculture sector now that the country is under a state of national energy emergency? Weighing in is former Agriculture Undersecretary Dr. Fermin Adriano. Welcome to the big story, sir.
Good evening to also to you and the viewers and the other panel members.
Well, our Agriculture Secretary says there is really nothing to worry about in terms of food supply. There is ample food supply. It's just a matter of price. How would you respond to his statements?
I think undeniably there will be going to be a steep increase in the prices of commodities, including rice. Because if you look at the inventory, carryover inventory from last year, it's only 2.3 million metric tons. And our harvest, we call it the dry season harvest, will be around something about, that's 30% of the total harvest. Kasi yung sa dry, 30%. Yung sa wet, when it's September, October, November, yun ang bulk of harvest. Will only give us around, together with the current stocks, will only give us around 6 million metric tons. Our consumption, daily consumption is 35,000 metric tons per day. So the 6 million metric tons will only last us till early June. Okay. So if we don't import, we're going to have, we will suffer from shortage. By the way, if you look at the data on consumption, we are consuming, just Google it, about 16.5 million metric tons of rice. Our local production last year is about 19.68. Convert that into palay into rice, that's equivalent to 12.8 million metric tons. So there's a huge gap of about 3 million metric tons which we need to import on an annual basis. So yun yung problema natin. Malaking problema yun kasi with the increase in the prices of fertilizer, it will be felt enormously, I think, in May. Kasi yun ang planting season. We're still in the harvest season right now.
Right.
So there's relatively good, inventory. But come May, June, July, this is what we call the lean season because that's the planting season. Unfortunately, our stock might not last that long.
The secretary earlier on StoryCon said it's really, and tell us why you don't think this is correct. He said August, September pa tayo dapat mag-alala. But you're saying May, June, July.
No, it's traditionally that we make a decision on importation by February. It happened in 1995 with the Secretary Don Bobot Sebastian. It happened during the time of Manny Piñol in 2018, wherein there was a delay in terms of the decision to import. The arrival by May was too little during that time. So it really created a lot of crunch in terms of the supply. So yung pinaka-critical period talaga yung May, June, July because there's no supply. Now, the problem that we have, ito nga nakakabit to dun sa decision nila that we didn't import rice. There was a rice import ban last year from September to December. So walang pumasok na imported rice. Matumal din yung pagpasok nitong January to February because of the hangover of the rice import ban. So that means that we need to import a lot now to be able to plug itong May, June, July, August. Unfortunately, the prices now are high compared before.
We should have done
the
it
prices
earlier.
right now, yeah, we should have done it earlier. Talagang historically. And if you look at it, the price of fertilizer was 1,200.
Ngayon,
Pero si
doble
Secretary ng doble na. So you can just imagine and we're not even we're actually selling the pre-war level stocks ng fertilizer. This is not the new ones because urea is made is derived from the liquefied natural gas na binomba do sa Qatar, di ba? Yun yung main source ng urea. And therefore, pagdating ng May, which is the peak season, peak demand season for urea, because that's the planting season for rice, how much it would be, we don't know because it's already 2,000. It can go as high as 3,000 or 4,000. And definitely, that will have an impact on the prices of rice. Not aside from the fact that you're having problems in terms of the rising transportation costs. Look at the diesel. It's almost double. Most tractors and buses are run by diesel, are diesel fuel, di ba? So, talagang medyo nakakatakot.
Is it possible po, sir, na because the Secretary was also talking about putting a cap on imports and the President is about to issue that executive order at 50 pesos. May mabibili ba tayo na halagang ganon na bigas ngayon?
They try, itong price cap na to, they use it in August 2023. Remember that? Kung tumataas yung presyo ng mga bigas. They impose a price cap in August 2023. What was the result? Immediately after a month, the prices almost tripled. So they have to abandon that. Kasi pag nag-impose ka ng price cap ganyan, it will actually aggravate the problem of supply shortage. Because yung mga traders will not sell their rice because they will be selling it at a loss, di ba? So that instrument of price cap, I don't think it is going to work under this current situation. It will aggravate the problem.
Okay, so
there is a crisis in agriculture.
There's going to be a crisis. We will feel that particularly once the harvest season is over this April. Itong May, I think they're going to feel that with the increase in the prices of nitrogen and increase in the prices of fuel.
But
and the other factor that you have to consider this analysis is that we're importing almost 90% of our rice imports from Vietnam. Okay? So last year, Vietnam was pleading that we should somehow lift the rice import ban. Kasi they were harvesting during that time, August ang harvest nila. So they cannot sell it to us during that time. Unfortunately, we nonchalantly ignored the pleadings of Vietnam. So now, parang masama yung loob nilang tampo, no? So we're going to have a problem because they're going to limit their export based on the official document that they came out with at 2.5 million metric tons. We usually get around 3 million metric tons or more from them. So we need to repair that relationship with Vietnam because of what happened last year.
Okay. But according to the secretary, punong-puno ang mga warehouse ngayon ng NFA.
Yeah, that's only 400,000 metric tons. 400,000 metric tons. We're consuming 35,000 metric tons a day. So sabihin mo na lang, so mga lang yun, less than 10 days, mga 10 to 12 days lang yun.
So May is not so far away.
It is far away in the sense that nag-start pa lang dun yung planting. So the off-peak season of palay and then rice, it starts in May and stretches up to early August. Because that's the only time that harvest comes in. Okay? So you have practically 3 months now where we don't have local supply of rice. Because planting season nga po yun.
Okay, Yusek, hi, this is Shawn. I just wanted to ask, of course you discussed already of the price crisis and there's also the issue of a supply crisis. So you're saying that both will come into play maybe by June. What else can we do apart from try to repair that relationship with Vietnam? Can we also compel Congress to speed up the repealment of the rice tarification law, which I believe they told sila Ces kanina at around the 4 p.m. interview na mga June pa daw yata?
Well, the rice tarification law basically just liberalized rice trading. It lowered the tariff. We need right now is the rice tarification law. We need a lower tariff so that we can bring in as much rice as we can right now, so to be able to have more supply. Because we cannot get it, as I said, there is a 3 million supply gap every year because local production can only meet 13 million metric tons of rice out of the 16.5 million metric tons that we annually consume. So mayroong gap doon. So where do we get that? We need to import, di ba? So if you repeal the rice tarification law, which is liberalizing trade, lowering tariff, that will basically stop importation by the private sector. Who's going to import? The government?
That's
Government
what
does not
they, yes,
have
the
any
NFA daw po, sir.
Oh, but
They
if
want to
it's
give it
NFA,
back.
that's government fund, isn't it? We're going to put a lot of money to, you need about 200 billion for that to be able to cover properly.
So what should the DA do? Ano po ang solusyon?
Ang solusyon niyan is to lower, as the Secretary was saying, to lower the tariff now so that we can be assured that all of these food products will come in. Kasi pag tinignan mo talaga, yung tariff natin, 40% support or something like that. And that's the only way because some of the countries might resort to stopping their export because of this war.
Yes,
they will
might.
say that
We might not have any rice to buy. Is that
because we
possibility?
have to secure the food security of our country first rather than exporting it to you, di ba?
Yes.
So delikado tayo doon. And of course, we need to diversify our rice import market.
Right.
We need to talk to India, which is the biggest tax of all. Kaya lang medyo mahal sa India.
Pero
kasi
I understand, sir, ayaw na rin ng India. I mean, based on what I've been reading, they also want to secure their own people first.
Yun na nga eh. So it's a problem that we need diplomatically probably to ask our ambassador something like to do that kind of negotiations quietly with India because they have a lot of stocks. Remember that India cannot export so much basmati rice to Middle East.
Yeah.
O, dahil basmati yun eh. We are importing actually the white rice. So they have a lot of that. In other words, we need to do some diplomatic follow-up or negotiations with India. And we have a good relationship with India. I've talked to the ambassador before, and they're willing to give us the to send up the exports. It's just a matter of negotiating with them because they have the biggest stock. Dito sa but it will require time kasi malayo.
Okay. Yusek, earlier, Secretary Tiu Laurel already announced that 2,325 pesos will be handed out for about 2.1 million rice farmers. Do you think that's enough for our farmers? Will 2,325 pesos be enough for fuel subsidy?
Sa fuel pa lang yun. Kasi if ganito kasi yung ratio niyan, for every hectare of palay farm, you need around 4 bags, at least 4 bags of urea. So kung ang urea mo is hitting already 2,000 pesos per bag, you just think about it, di ba? Urea lang, wala pa tayong fuel na pinag-uusapan. I don't think anybody will say that that money is adequate. It's a drop in the bucket, given the prices. Di ba? Kasi 2,000 na yung urea mo, isang bag pa lang, 4 ang kailangan mo, ma'am.
Yusek, what about the government's 20 peso per kilo rice program? I believe it's still being rolled out, but is that sustainable in the long run?
Of course na. Kasi, as I said, you need 100 billion. Kasi ginawa na namin yung arithmetic dyan eh. Kasi you need around, because how much is the rice now? Tingnan mo Ang palay kasi is now about, sabihin mo, 21 pesos. To be able to get a kilo of rice, practically, you need 2 kilos of palay. So that means kung 21 pesos yan, 42 pesos, babagsak yung presyo ng rice mo. If you're selling it at 20 pesos, di lugi ka palagi ng 22 pesos, di ba, per kilo. And you're talking about how many million metric tons. It's not sustainable. Mababang karote po ang gobyerno natin.
So why are we, lastly po sir, why are we in the dark about this? Why does it seem like everything is under control and the solution that government has is to hand out these small amounts of money to people?
Yun nga kinatatakot ko. The current narrative is everything is fine. Everything is normal. Well, it's not. Because if you look at our neighbors, Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, and recently Indonesia, they already came out with a plan. May ginagawa sila. The problem is here is that we are not applying science to the problem. Alam na ng mga ekonomista yan. Like, even in the fuel issue, tanggalin daw yung excise tax. Pero pag tinignan mo yung datos, the 10% of our people are the ones consuming 90% of our petrol products. That means yung mayayaman ang gumagamit ng gas natin. Ngayon, bakit mo tatanggalin yun, di ba? Kasi mayayaman, ang makikinabang dyan, yung may kotse katulad natin, hindi yung mahirap. The better tack would have been to retain the excise tax and that use the money, the windfall that you will gain, to increase the targeted subsidy to your drivers, etc., etc. That would have been a better tack. Ganyan ka. Doon din, katulad yung sa rice noon, sinabi namin, huwag kayong mag-rice import ban. Because if you do rice import ban, we will have a problem in our inventory next year. If you just use a tariff, tinasan yung tariff, rice will still come in, but at a lesser volume. At the same time, government will earn revenues from the tariffs, di ba? That's a better tack if you apply science. Unfortunately, mukhang hindi natin tayo nagbibigay ng importansya sa science, sa decision making. And I have not seen them. I'm sorry to say, but when you make a presentation in Senate and Congress, to give me specific data, robust data on where you are. Kasi yung tutulad yan sa rice nyo, alam na sa 60 pesos yung magaganda if you talk to your kasambahay. So you need to have robust data. Fortunately, that it seems hindi yun ang ang norm eh. Sinabi na ganito, marami tayong stock dito. But if you really want, this is the stock right now. You
show the graphs, show the actual. Okay, we thank you for your time. I'm so sorry. We want to probe your knowledge, but we've run out of time. Thank you for your perspective. Former Agriculture Undersecretary Dr. Fermin Adriano.
We're going to pause for another quick breather, but right after that, President Marcos says there could be some turbulence in the airline industry because of jet fuel concerns. That story and more when we return. Keep it here.
And we're back with more stories making headlines this Tuesday. The Energy Department says it again. Philippine fuel supply is still, quote, in comfortable levels. As of March 20, the country has about 45 days worth of oil reserves. The DOE based these estimates on average consumption between April and September 2025. The agency mandates oil players to maintain 30 days of petroleum stockpile. But the price hikes are not over. Just today, diesel is more expensive by between 15 and 18 pesos. Gasoline prices up by as much as 12 pesos. And kerosene by between 12 and 22 pesos per liter. Only one oil company, Caltex, implemented staggered increases. Energy Secretary Sharon Garin says the country has secured 400,000 barrels of oil from a Southeast Asian nation. That's while it is negotiating for 600,000 more from another country outside the region.
We are doing all diplomatic channels, all our contacts. PNUC is also reaching out to all the suppliers and traders. So consistent po. Ang delivery kasi only takes 1 week if it's in Southeast Asia, and some are arriving today.
Still on the oil crisis, President Bongbong Marcos tells Bloomberg that there's a, quote, distinct possibility of grounding planes if jet fuel runs out. Marcos says some countries have already told local airlines that they cannot fuel their aircraft. What this means is that jets need to carry fuel back and forth. The president adds that long-haul flights face more serious problems. Based on the Energy Department's data, the Philippines still has about 38 days worth of jet fuel.
In another development, the Independent Commission for Infrastructure says it did not clear House Speaker Martin Romualdez of any liability in the flood control scandal. This after Congressman Jude Asidre claimed the commission had supposedly declared Romualdez not accountable. The ICI clarified that its referral to the Office of the Ombudsman carries no finding of guilt or innocence and is meant to allow further investigation. It also stressed that it is a fact-finding body with no authority to determine criminal or administrative liability.
And before we go, here's proof that the spirit of malasakit is still very much alive here amid all our challenges. At the Philippine General Hospital, a group is providing some comfort to patients and their families in the form of sandwiches. That story from our mobile journalist, Daniel Dayo.
In the middle of hospital hallways and amid rising prices of basic goods, a simple sandwich becomes a source of relief for many. Every day, hundreds of patients and watchers fill the hallways of PGH. In the emergency room alone, from a capacity of 75, numbers can reach up to 300. And for many, it's not just the lack of space they struggle with, but the lack of resources for daily expenses.
Siyempre, walang budget, walang pera. Minsan nagpapasalamat ako kasi hindi na lang sa blessing na dumarating na biyaya, like yung sandwich po. Nakakatulong sila sa amin na ibsan yung gutom namin.
Malaking tulong po ito, ma'am, lalo na po sa mga araw-araw na sa team ko ng Chaplaincy po. Maraming salamat po sa lahat ng effort nyo, saka sa Talagang yung free na mga tinapay. Laking tulong po kasi nakakabawas sa magastusin, saka makatipid po siya lalo na ngayon sa mahal na bilihin.
For many watchers, every peso counts, but leaving little for their own meals. Yet since 2016, the PGH chaplaincy has been preparing and distributing free sandwiches every morning, reaching up to 300 people a day.
Siguro naman halos lahat makaka-relate, no? Pag nasa emergency na tayo, minsan yung sa mga importanteng dadalhin hindi nadadala, no? Minsan okay lang kung merong dadalhin, pero paano kung wala talaga? Minsan nag-aalanganin yung mga tao na tumanggap kasi akala nila binibenta namin. Yun gano'n. So, sabi namin, hindi, libre po ito, galing po ito sa SAPE.
What started as a simple initiative has now become a daily routine, one that many have come to rely on. And with the help of donors, they are also able to provide additional support, including grocery packs.
It gives us also joy and hope na kahit pa paano sa simpleng act of kindness. And every time na nakikita namin sila na natutuwa, na-excite kahit na sabihin na parang palaging ganon yung aming binibigay pero hindi sila nagsasawa. Kaya minsan ini-encourage din namin yung mga donors, no? Mag-join kayo, mamigay tayo ng tinapay kasi nakita ninyo na how grateful they are.
At a time when many sick Filipinos continue to struggle, initiatives like this offer a sense of hope.
Kung titignan po natin ang sitwasyon sa ating government ngayon, madami ang nagnanakaw pero madami din ang willing to help. And marami pa rin ang mabubuting puso. Kaya it gives me hope na sa pagtulong-tulong, konting bagay na may iaambag natin sa ating kapwa ay malaking tulong na yun.
The PGH chaplaincy remains open to those who want to donate. Because in times like these, even a simple sandwich can go a long way. Kapatid Mobile Journal, Daniel Dayao, we are One News.
And that's all the time we have tonight for The Big Story. Thank you so much for watching.
We are back here tomorrow at 8 p.m. We'll see you then.
Kapatid, we are One News, all sides, all the time. Have a good night.